Hi, this is Monica from Numberly. This is the second in our Intro to Financial Statements, and today I'm going to talk about cash flow and the cash flow forecast and why it is different from your P&L. So first, just diving into the cash flow statement itself. On the left-hand side, the way that we build our models, we've got the annual data on the left-hand side and then monthly data on the right-hand side. And you can drill down on what are the sources of cash coming in. So, for example, let's say using the same example I've used before, you have a B2B SaaS platform and you charge a subscription and your customers pay on an annual basis. Let's say, again, to stick with the same numbers, 12,000 is their annual license subscription. And so the way that the model is going to calculate the cash coming in is it's basically going to say, okay, well, how many customers do you have at the end of January? How many have you onboarded as of January? Let's say you launch your platform in January and you have 3 customers. So those 3 customers have paid you upfront the $12,000 for the annual subscription, annual license. And so your cash flow is going to show that you have collected in the bank $36,000. And the same is true depending on how many new customers you have onboarding in February and March and so on. And so each of those new customers is going to pay you that annual subscription upfront. In subsequent, now for subsequent years, let's say, for example, the following January, you will have the initial licenses who renew paying you again that chunk of money for the whole annual subscription upfront, plus the new ones that you've onboarded in that particular month, in the month of January 2025. So this total is all of the annual subscriptions paid upfront for the ones that are renewing from the prior year, plus the new ones that you onboard in that particular month. And that is also true of February, March, and so on. Now, the interesting thing here is that there's going to be a big difference between the cash that you expect and receive and your monthly recurring revenue. So this is 3,000 in terms of what appears on your P&L. So your MRR is 3,000 for that month, whereas the cash in is 36,000. Now, why might that be the case? So let's say, for example, again, you've onboarded 3 new customers in January and they've paid you the total upfront, so that's 36,000. But the reason that this revenue number for your MRR is also not 36,000, even though you have 3 customers, it's because the 3 customers that you've onboarded in January might pay you that $36,000 upfront, but you cannot and shouldn't recognize that as revenue in that month because it's not. And the way that this works is that you take the $12,000 per customer, and because it's an annual license, you have to divide it out over the course of the 12 months. So that's 1,000 per customer per month. And so if I have 3 customers, that means my MRR for that month is going to be 3,000, and same thing for February. So one of the things that you need to be vigilant about is that if, for example, you have a delay between the time that you issue an invoice and the time that you actually receive that payment from your customers, you want to make sure that you're mindful and aware of that, because you don't want to be in a position where you're expecting cash and you don't actually receive it. And the way that we do that in our model is we say, okay, well, there's going to be 60-day payment terms. And so what that means is if I go back to my cash flow statement, it shows that my revenues haven't changed because my MRR is still the same. It's that 12,000 divided by 12 times the 3 customers that I have in January. But you can see that my cash that I'm expecting for the month of January has now shifted 60 days or 2 months. So this means that I'm going to have to cover this amount of cash in one way or another. And let's say, for example, I've raised 500,000, then that obviously helps me cover the cash. But this is something that a lot of founders are not necessarily aware of, but it's really important to to always be very aware of the difference between the cash coming in and the revenues that you're recognizing. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please go to numberly.io and the chat bot on the lower right. Thanks very much.